Good evening and welcome to tonight's GamedayU basketball show. I'm your host, Elise Jones, and I'm joined here by Addie Crawford, Will Blessing, and Miles Smith. We begin tonight with breaking news. Oklahoma head coach Lon Kruger announced today he's retiring after 10 seasons with the team. Kruger retires with 674 career wins in a career that spanned nearly 40 years. Kruger finishes his career at OU with a record of 195 and 128 in a Final Four appearance in 2016. So Addie, I'll turn it over to you first. What are your thoughts and your initial reaction?
Well, if anyone was questioning it before, I think we finally have our answer. With Kruger leaving, there is just no way the Austin Reeves and Brady Manek are going to come back. I just really don't see it because what is here for them? Absolutely nothing. I'm so sad to see Lon Kruger go. He's had such an amazing career here. He's led the Sooners to 7 NCAA tournaments and a Final Four appearance in 2016. He's one of just 3 coaches to lead 5 different programs to the NCAA tournament, along with Rick Pitino and Tubby Smith. Kruger's son is actually named the head coach of UNLV, so I imagine that he's going to go to Las Vegas and just, sit back and relax. What do y'all guys think?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the ink just barely dry on that coaching contract for Kevin Kruger. I think it's really realistic that Lon goes up to UNLV and helps out with that program in whatever way, even if that's just relaxing and coming in and just watching practice sometimes. But I also agree with Addie that there's no real reason for Austin Reeves and Brady Manek to come back. If I was a fifth-year senior with an extra year of eligibility, I would not want to spend it on a new coaching system coming in, whatever that may be, whether they hire from the interior or not. Just I would go off to the pros, see what money can be made. But legendary career from Kruger, and it is incredibly sad to see him go.
Just to add on to what y'all said, I'd rather see the McRib come back before I see Austin Reeves and Brady Manek come back, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. But anyways, I feel that, first and foremost, congratulations to Lon Kruger on such a successful career at OU. He's been blessed to coach many talented players like Trae Young, Buddy Hield, Jamoni McNeese, Christian Doolittle, Christian James. The list goes on. He's definitely had an impact on his players and everybody that's came within his program, and every program that he's stepped foot in, he's definitely had success and definitely turned that specific program around in many ways, and he's definitely a pillar in this Norman community, and we wish him nothing but the best moving forward, even if that is going to, like what y'all said, going to join his son at UNLV and just taking part of that coaching staff over there just for a little side gig or whatever. But I really wish him nothing but the best, honestly.
I agree with you. Coach Kruger is someone who took this program that 2 years prior to his arrival went 27-36. His players earned first-team All-Big 12 selections on 6 occasions, racked up 32 academic All-Big 12 honors. Coach Kruger was definitely a respectable man. He was a mentor. He's a class act, and he's going to be missed at the University of Oklahoma.
I could not agree with you more. I think his retirement was really fitting. I think he needed to retire. It's been too long, and I hope he relaxes in Las Vegas.
Well, obviously, it's a little too soon to ask this question, but with an opening at head coach, who does Joe Castiglione look to? Is there someone in particular you'd like to see OU hire as his successor?
Well, I'm going to go with Paul Mills from Oral Roberts. Mills is a hot name considering he's taken 15 seed Oral Roberts to the Sweet 16. I mean, that's incredible, and that in itself gives him the spotlight for a major job in the same state of Oklahoma. But what really makes Mills a serious contender for this job is his 14 seasons of Big 12 experience that he would bring. He knows the league, and he's obviously shown his ability to run his own program, so I think that Oklahoma would be a great fit for him.
Addie, you're talking about a current Cinderella team. I'm going to talk about the coach of a former Cinderella team who's also doing really well in the tournament right now, just upsetting Illinois. I'm talking about Porter Moser from Loyola Chicago. Now, this guy, he's leading an explosive Rambler team. Like I said, they just upset Illinois. They're an 8 seed in the Sweet 16. And moving up to a higher conference, moving up to a Power 5 conference, coaching OU, just a bigger program, it just makes logical sense. If you've got this momentum going behind you, why not move up?
With the discussion being about Coach Kruger, I'm going to quote one of Coach Kruger's most famous sayings, next man up. And that next man up for me is Coach Carlin Hartman, honestly. I feel like the Tulane Hall of Famer has definitely built a resume where he's served as an assistant coach at McNeese State, Louisiana Lafayette, University of Richmond, University of Columbia, Rice University. He's definitely been a part of these winning programs and has served for a long time as an assistant coach. With the resume that he has already, I feel like he's definitely ready to be in that head coaching position. And this is a guy that wants to win. This is a guy that builds programs around. This is a guy that wants nothing more but to see his players win. And with that resume, I feel like he's ready for that position.
Well, to start things off tonight, let's see a tournament update because it's time for the Sweet 16. In the East and West brackets, Pac-12 powers Oregon and USC punched their ticket into the third round, along with Creighton and the machine we all know as Gonzaga. Also in the Sweet 16, Juwan Howard and the Michigan Wolverines, Florida State, Alabama, and the surprise 11-seeded UCLA Bruins. Oral Roberts will be representing Oklahoma as a 15 seed in an unexpected Cinderella story. They'll take on Arkansas, and if they win that one, they play the winner of Baylor and Villanova. In the Midwest region, it's Houston and Syracuse, and stop me if you had this in your bracket, 8-seed Loyola Chicago and 12-seed Oregon State. Now, going back to Oklahoma's run in the NCAA tournament, let's start with Game 1 against the Missouri Tigers. In a game a little too close for comfort, Oklahoma pulled off the nail-biting victory 72-68. Jalen Hill entered the starting lineup for the second time this season after Davion Harmon tested positive for COVID-19. Hill added 4 rebounds, 4 points, 3 assists, and a pair of blocks for the Sooners. And after their first victory, Oklahoma put their name on the bracket knowing they had tough competition ahead, the number 1 seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs. The Sooners held their own, leading by 8 in the first half and proving they could hang with the big dogs. Austin Reeves was on fire, adding 27 points for Oklahoma, who shot 55.6% in the second half. The Sooners went out strong, but ultimately fell 87-71. Here's what head coach Lon Kruger had to say about the end of OU's season.
Proud for our guys. Our guys had a great year. They battled and worked hard, and couldn't be more proud of a group. And disappointed, of course, right now, and we'll learn from it, move forward. But congratulations to the Zags and to Mark and his group.
Before we go any further in the show, we want to let our viewers know there will be no footage from the NCAA tournament in this show. The NCAA's video policy on their tournament games is strict, and to avoid any legal issues, we'll only be using regular season and conference tournament footage. Now back to the game that ended the Sooners season. What or who was the biggest disappointment in this game? What player let the Sooners down, or what aspect of OU's game fell short? Addie, let's start with you.
Well, the Sooners came out on fire against the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs, making 6 of their first 8 from the floor. Just 11 seconds into the game, Brady Manek absolutely nailed a 3-pointer. But after that, it was pretty quiet. He missed all of his other attempted shots. We can see from this video that that's pretty common, but without much scoring from Manek, it left the Sooners with no other choice but to rely on other players like Austin Reeves or Alondis Williams. Not only did Manek struggle offensively, but he also struggled defensively too. I mean, he was guarding Drew Timme, but that doesn't excuse the fact that he had 0 assists and only 1 block. For me, I was really expecting Brady Manek to step up. He's a leader on this team, and I thought that he would really do more against this game with Gonzaga.
You know, Brady Manek, yeah, that's a disappointment, and I can have more to talk about that. But I'm going to go with OU's interior defense as a whole. Now, they allowed Gonzaga to shoot 49% from the interior. Now, this is an intense offense. You just absolutely cannot allow that to happen, and these are issues that have been plaguing the Sooners for the entire season. Right now, you're looking at Cade Cunningham absolutely demolishing the Sooners on the interior. You know who else dominated? Drew Timme. He had 30 points overall. He shot 9 for 12 from the field, which, if you don't want to do the math, that's 75% shooting. That's insane. Now, they allowed 11 offensive rebounds, and the Sooners just aren't aggressive in the paint. Now, that is why that's their fault. That's been their fault. Allowing an intense offense like Gonzaga to just dominate in the paint like that, it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment.
Most of you guys are going to look at me crazy when I say this, but I'm going to have to go with Mo Gibson. I'm like y'all, I love Mo Gibson. I'm a big fan of him, but he just isn't that same player that he was in January. Like, where was that Mo Gibson that scored 29 points on 8 threes in the win against WV off the bench? Off the bench, y'all. Like, do y'all hear me? Off the bench. And then come tournament time, he just laid an egg. He just was non-existent, only scoring like 6 points in 21 minutes in the loss versus Gonzaga and had 0 points in 27 minutes versus Kansas. 0 points? Really? I had the same amount of points as Mo Gibson and I'm not even on the roster? Really? Come on. I expect more out of him moving forward. He's definitely a big piece of our offense and defense, and he was definitely a big-time pickup for the Sooners when he came here from UNT, and I really expect him to get just more touches moving forward into next season.
Yeah, I was watching the games, and I was thinking, where's Mo? What's he doing?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
nothing.
It's crazy,
What's
right?
going on?
Coming up next on GamedayU, we're going to take a detailed look at Oklahoma State star Cade Cunningham. Stick around. Welcome back to GamedayU. Oklahoma was not projected to have a great season, yet they found themselves peaking at number 7 in the AP poll at one point. Just when the Sooners were hot and one of the better teams in the country, they were bounced in the second round of the tournament. So when Sooner fans look back on this season, will they see it as a disappointment or an overachievement?
I certainly don't want Sooner fans to look back on this season as a disappointment. I mean, I certainly don't. This season has been a season like no other. From countless COVID tests to missing players to competing in the bubble, the Sooners had an amazing season, surpassing my expectations. I mean, at one point, OU was ranked at number 7. Yeah, they might have lost in the second round, but I also think it's important to put out there that the Sooners lost to Gonzaga of all teams. This team is undefeated. They've shown that they're so dominant. I think in a game where the Sooners put up an amazing fight, we can look back on this season and think of it as an overachievement.
I don't know. I think that this Sooner team had the potential for massive success, but really, everything ended with Austin Reaves, and because of that, this season is a massive disappointment. Now, Austin Reaves led the team in points, rebounds, and assists. This team had the depth of skill in January to take down multiple top 10 teams in a row, only to lose to some of the worst teams in the conference. You're looking right now at their performance against Iowa State, who was the absolute worst team in the Big 12. It's just disappointing to see this team fall from where they were in January. Now, Austin Reaves, great player, but he shouldn't have been the entire Sooners team. Just disappointing. Disappointing.
I agree with that. I'm going to have to play the devil's advocate right here between you and you. I'm going to have to go with both. Here's the reason why. I feel like it was just an overachievement and a disappointment at the same time. The Sooners started off the season strong, but ended on a bad note. When you look at that same team from January where they beat ranked teams like Alabama without Austin Reaves, by the way. They beat Kansas without Brady Manick, and beating Texas in Austin. That was all in the month of January. How do you go from that to going on a 4-game losing streak? Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that they played Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is that guy. We all know Cade Cunningham is good at basketball. But it was definitely a mix of both. Like, they had good talent, but they just didn't end on the right note. And they lost offensive flow as the season progressed. So that's why I'm going to have to say both.
Cade Cunningham is that guy.
Facts.
Cade Cunningham is good at basketball.
We know
and
this.
That definitely didn't help at all. Still shouldn't have been. Austin Reaves should not have been shouldering this offense.
Well, the disappointments of the Sooners' final game weren't the only frustrations seen this season. Do you think the issues this season sprung from the players or from Lon Kruger's system?
First of all, I just want to put this out there. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me on this one. Lon Kruger is a great coach. I'm just going to put that out there first. So many players have gone to the next level under his coaching. He's won so many games. He has such a great legacy here. However, I want to say that this offense this season was very simple. And the problem with simple offenses is that they can be easy to figure out. I mean, Kruger knows what he's doing, and obviously it worked for a while when the Sooners had their hot streak, but in the end, really good teams know exactly how to read this. Yes, Kruger is to blame for some of the team's struggles, but the players have also played a part in it as well. As we can see from this video that was showing those turnovers, man, that is just ugly. Kruger's coaching has been for so long enough that he should be able to read his players' abilities better.
You know, you say that Kruger ran a simple system. He did. But I don't think that was the issue at all. I think it was the fact that the players didn't step up into the system that was built for them to shine. You're looking at Xavier, just an absolute mess of a performance from the Sooners. These players just didn't step up. Brady Manick didn't step up. He averaged 25 minutes this season and only 10 points per game. That's just bad, especially from somebody, you know, Prairie Bird, who's supposed to be taking this offense and pushing it forward. Austin Reaves carried the team again. And you know what else? The Sooners could not rebound, and that killed them. This was a simple system meant for these great players to step up, and they didn't. Just bad.
First and foremost, I just want to say Coach Kruger is not the problem in what happened this past season. The Sooners definitely lost momentum. They definitely lost depth going into the season. They had guys out with COVID like Austin Reaves, Brady Manick, Alondas Williams, Davion Hartman in that last game. But you could easily see when those players came back, like Reaves and Manick, well, not Reaves, but just Manick. It was hard to see him struggling and get back to his normal self. for example, like it was just tough to see Brady go through that injury versus Baylor and him dealing with COVID and having to come back through all that. But it was just, the problem is not Lon Kruger. Lon Kruger's been coaching at UF, UNLV, and now at OU. Trust me, he's not the problem in this situation at all. So don't put your fingers on Lon.
Well, you said his name earlier, so now let's send it over to Dylan Rivera for this week's breakdown, where he gives us an in-depth look on why everyone wants a piece of Oklahoma State's Cade Cunningham.
You've heard his name, you've seen his highlights, and you've probably seen the drool falling from the mouths of NBA scouts. But what is it about Oklahoma State superstar Cade Cunningham that makes him the projected #1 overall pick? What does he do from game to game that has scouts clamoring for him? And does he have any weaknesses? Let's take a closer look at the Stillwater standout and break down his game. Let's start with his ability to score. Cunningham averaged 20 points per game this season. He's an efficient scorer. 44% from the field, 40% from three, 85% from the free throw line. Apologies to all you Sooner fans, but let's take a look at his 40-point performance against OU. Cunningham's game on February 27th was one of just 12 40-point performances in college basketball this season. On this play, you can see just how dominant Cunningham is in one-on-one scenarios. He goes to work on one of OU's better defenders, Elijah Harkless. The snatch back, fake spin, pump fake, and pull-up all add up to make Harkless look foolish. This next play again against one of OU's best. This time it's Jaylen Hill. He fakes using the screen, drives right, and powers his shoulder in, and gets just enough room to get a fadeaway jumper up. Cunningham is powerful when he attacks the rack. When he gets downhill, he's tough to stop. Here on this play against Texas, Cunningham just powers his way into the lane for two. His bully ball style of scoring gets him plenty of free throw opportunities. I love this inbounds play against Baylor. Cunningham tosses the ball in, acts lazy, then bodies up against the much smaller Davion Mitchell. He gets underneath the defense, and a good feed inside results in an easy shot opportunity. Help defense has to come in from behind and sends Cunningham to the line. Cunningham is deadly from three. He's especially accurate from the top of the arc. You won't see him get off too many catch-and-shoot jumpers, but off the dribble, he's money from deep. One of Cunningham's favorite shots is the mid-range fadeaway. He loves to get to his spot in rhythm and in motion and shoot the jumper while he leans back. At 6'8" and with a 7'2" wingspan, Cunningham is a small forward playing point guard. This means the freshman star can grab a lot of boards. Cunningham averaged 6.3 rebounds per game and is extremely proficient at turning around and looking up court for his teammates on the break. On this play, he holds off 6'10", 250-pound Flo Thamba with one arm and palms the ball with his 10.5-inch right hand. And on this one, boxing out Shamwa Chachua, taking the ball up the floor and finding Putnam City West alum Rondell Walker for the tray. And that right there is what has scouts really excited, his ability to pass the ball. Cunningham's court vision and maturity at the point guard position is reflective of someone much older than a 19-year-old. He sees the floor like a veteran. For perspective, one player known in NBA circles as one of the best passers in league history is Rajon Rondo. Rondo currently sits at 15 on the NBA's all-time assist leaders. In Rondo's freshman year at Kentucky, he averaged 3.5 assists per game, the exact same number as Cunningham. Give Cunningham some NBA scores around him, and you'll see his assist numbers grow. One of the knocks on Cunningham's game is his turnover numbers. He's tried to force the issue a bit too often. He's a high dribbler, and he works at a slow pace, so his ball control gets sloppy at times. We're about to get really mathematical here. Cunningham averages 4 turnovers per game, making his assist-to-turnover ratio 0.86. Not a very good number for someone so highly touted, but you have to understand Cunningham's usage rate, and keep in mind this is reflective of the usual freshman mistakes. Usage rate calculates the number of plays that a given player is involved in that ends in either a field goal attempt, free throw attempt, or a turnover. While not in the stratospheres that Trae Young and Marcus Howard were once in, Cunningham's usage rate still sits really high. Cunningham at 29.1 is rated higher than famous one-and-done's Ben Simmons at 26.4 and Zion Williamson at 28.6. and he's only 1.1 percentage points lower than former Sooner Buddy Hield's senior season, in which he won the Wooden Award and averaged 25 points per game. All these numbers to essentially say Cunningham turned it over a bit more than he should have this season, but there's reasons to back him up a bit. Obviously, he'll need to clean it up as he assumedly goes into the NBA draft, but know that this is only natural and expected. Cunningham's defense isn't the kind you write home about. He's solid and his length creates problems, but he's no lockdown defender. On this play, Cunningham is having to gain ground around the screen, but he catches up and manages to block the shot. Cunningham averaged 1.6 steals and 0.8 blocks on the season. Steady numbers, but again, nothing gaudy or really eye-catching. Cunningham is solid in one-on-one situations and can stay with his man, but he's not a stopper by any means. One of the other points of emphasis that scouts like to write in their notes is Cunningham's pace of play. He's definitely not the quickest player in the country. You'll never really see Cunningham beat a defender one-on-one with his first step. He's not a blow-by guard. He's slower and more methodical than that. Cunningham loves to post up when he gets the chance, and loves even more when he can fade away and use his height and length to simply shoot over smaller defenders. Looking ahead, on the defensive end, point guards at the NBA level are explosive. Think De'Aaron Fox, Russell Westbrook, John Wall. Can Cunningham keep up with them? He lacks the lateral quickness to keep up with that first step, but as I mentioned before, his advantage in length could help him guard some of the league's best. One of the most interesting stats is the way Cunningham paces himself on the box score. It's almost like he spends the first half reading the game and reading the defense, and then turns it on in the second half. Cunningham averaged only 6 points in the first half through his 27 games and 14 in the second. The most common NBA comparisons for Cade Cunningham are former Duke star Grant Hill and current Mavericks highlight machine Luka Doncic. But Cunningham's numbers from his freshman season most resemble Mike Bibby's sophomore year at Arizona. Or, major throwback here, Guy Rogers' junior year at Temple in 1958. Although the Cowboys' season ended in just the second round of the Ncaa tournament, NBA scouts have seen enough of Cunningham to all but lock him in as the #1 pick this summer. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the Post Star and why NBA teams are clamoring for him. That's all I've got on Cade Cunningham. Elise, back to you.
We're going to take a break, but when we return, we're bringing back a hot topic, heroes and zeros. You won't want to miss this. Welcome back to Game Day U. This season was full of star players who paved a way for their teams. So who is your hero from the first 2 rounds?
I mean, we've talked about him all show. When you hear the word hero, how could you not think of Oklahoma State's Cade Cunningham? I mean, this guy has been incredible. You guys saw the breakdown. He is just phenomenal. As a freshman, Cunningham is projected to be the #1 pick in the NBA draft. He was named the winner of the Wayman Tisdale Award for the best freshman in college basketball. He was the Big 12 Player of the Year. I could go on and on naming the awards Cunningham has racked up this year and the award he's a finalist for, but I don't think we have the airtime for that. Anyways, Cade Cunningham averaged 20.1 points per game this season with 6.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.6 steals, helping Oklahoma State get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 4 years as a 4 seed. There's no denying that Cade Cunningham is unstoppable, and I can't wait to see what jersey he's in next year.
Yeah, okay, you're talking Oklahoma State. I'm going to keep it in the state of Oklahoma. I'm going to go with Max Amos from Oral Roberts, and he is my hero for 2 words and 2 words only, 40 minutes. This man played 40 minutes in the last game, and they were a productive 40 minutes too. He had 26 points. He shot 42% from the field, and get this, perfect 12 for 12 from the free throw line. That is massively important, and it's helping these Golden Eagles keep the Cinderella story alive. Max Amos, solid hero.
I actually like both of those picks, by the way, but I'm going to have to rock with Buddy Bohan. Buddy Bohan is like the deodorant of this Syracuse team. And what I mean by that, you ever just wake up in the morning and you just smell yourself, you're like, whoo! He's like, you just wake up, just smell musty. That way you go in the bathroom, you put on your deodorant, and you all good to go. That's what Buddy Bohan does with the Syracuse team. As a 6'6 junior, he's currently averaging 18 points, shooting 44% from the field. However, going into this NCAA tournament, he's just been going absolutely crazy. He dropped 30 against San Diego State, dropped 27 against NC State, dropped 25 on WV. Y'all want me to continue? Y'all really want me to continue talking about his numbers? That's crazy, but we don't have the time for that. But I'm gonna keep it short. But Buddy Bohan is that dude. He's been that guy for the Syracuse Orange.
You could say he's that dude, but he's no Buddy Buckets.
No, most definitely. That goes to Buddy Hield.
Oh, of course.
But for now, yeah.
He's keeping it up.
Well, on the other hand, some players didn't show up for their team or disappointed when it mattered most. So who are your zeros from the big dance?
I'm going to go with a NCAA tournament approach here. And first, I just want to say that I am not saying that this was right. I do not approve. He doesn't deserve the messages he received. But I was disappointed in E.J. Liddell's performance. And by the way, this totally has nothing to do with my bracket. Of course it did. Ohio State's performance really ruined my bracket. And no one saw Oral Roberts coming to a 2-seed team like Ohio State and beating them in overtime. I mean, I sure didn't. Liddell led Ohio State with 23 points with 5 of his team's 8 in overtime. But let's put this into perspective. Austin Reeves finished the game against #1 Gonzaga with 27 points. Luka Garza led the Hawkeyes with 36 points. Missing that free throw at the end was frustrating, and I think Liddell could have done a lot more. Again, not excusing any of the messages he received. That is absolutely terrible, and no college athlete should have to go through that.
Yes, definitely terrible. Nobody should have to go through that. Switching, though, my zero, Ochai Agbaji from the University of Kansas, the Jayhawks. He is typically a powerhouse for Kansas. I mean, just look at this performance against Oklahoma. Just buckets coming from this dude. Not present in the tournament against USC. He had 34 minutes. You want to know how much he scored? 8 points. He typically averages 14. He's got 3.7 rebounds, 1.9 assists. Those are his season stats. Just embarrassing against USC. 34 minutes, 8 points, unacceptable, barely contributed in the worst loss that Kansas has ever had in the NCAA tournament, losing by 34 points to USC. Just disappointing.
I'm going to have to agree with that. But switching gears a little bit, I'm going to have to go with Kofi Coburn. This is a dude that knows he can be dominant no matter who his opponent was. In the regular season, he was more of Shaquille O'Neal, but in the NCAA tournament, he just turned into Anthony Bennett. Like, are you serious? Going into the season, he averaged 17.7 points, grabbing 9.5 rebounds, and was, in my opinion, better than Luka Garza as the best big in college basketball. I stand 10 toes behind that. But going into the tournament, he just wasn't that same enforcer that he was, and he didn't showcase his capabilities against Loyola Chicago. And even though I do have him going as declaring for the NBA draft, I wish him nothing but the best moving forward, but I'm not happy with his performance.
Coming up next on GamedayU, we're debating if there's anyone who can defeat the undefeated. That's right, will anyone beat Gonzaga? Stick around. Welcome back to GamedayU. I'm sure you all have kept up with March Madness in one way or another. Our team here at GamedayU made brackets, and we're going to look at the standings. In first place by a pretty good margin, we have Ben Thomas, followed by Colton Soley, Mr. Will Blessing, and myself coming in fourth. And I also think we should just go ahead and note that the producer of this show, Dylan Rivera, does happen to be toward the bottom of the bracket. But since we're talking about who's on top in the basketball world, let's talk about West Virginia head coach Bob Huggins. Huggins just got up to 900 wins, and he's only the 6th head coach to do so. So is he one of the all-time greats, or where does he rank in the all-time conversation?
Okay, so it goes without saying that Bob Huggins is a great coach. Of course he is. He's the 6th coach to get up to 900 wins. But he is not an all-time great, and I'm going to tell you why. The most basic question is, what's the point of playing a sport? And it's to be the best. And to be the best, you have to win championships. And Huggins has won 0 in his coaching career. And what's the point of winning all of these games if you can't even win the biggest one? I'm a Tom Brady fanatic, and growing up in Dallas, people were always trying to argue with me that Romo was a better quarterback. But I never understood it because he could break all these records, but what did it matter when he hadn't even won a Super Bowl? The only Super Bowl he's even been to is the one he's commentated at, but this is a basketball show. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is that Bob Huggins is a great coach, but he has no championships. John Wooden has 10, Roy Williams has 3. Huggins has been coaching since 1980, so I would expect him to win a bunch over the last 41 years. Of course, Huggins is not an all-time great. He's great at winning games, but not when it matters.
You know, you bring up championships. I think in a sport like college basketball, where every championship is just so randomized, it's so hard to determine greatness based off championships. I call him a legend because you got to look at the teams he coaches. You got to look at this current West Virginia team, a sleeper team in the Big 12, which was honestly one of the toughest divisions to play college basketball in. As a team, they averaged 77.3 points and 38.1 rebounds. That's pretty solid. Third in the Big 12. He coaches strong teams. He's got legendary success and a legendary name, Huggy Bear. He's a legend. He knows what he's doing.
I'm going to have to say Coach Huggins is definitely a top 10 coach right now, but he's not really on that legendary status like Will says he is. I just don't think so. Don't get me wrong, he has players in his program like Miles McBride, Derek Culver, Taz Sherman, Jordan McCabe, but he definitely fits more in that Coach Kruger and Coach Izzo conversation simply because he hasn't produced a lot of NBA talent in his programs. The players that he's coached in his career is 2000 number one overall draft pick Kenyon Martin and Phoenix Suns guard Javon Carter. That's cool and all, but it's not enough to be put in this conversation with Coach K, Coach Calipari, Coach Self, and I just don't think that he fits in that category per se.
Well, getting back on track with tournament talk, who was the biggest letdown this year in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit with E.J. Liddell, but Ohio State really let me down. It absolutely tanked my bracket. To say that this game was a letdown is just an understatement. Ohio State had such big expectations. I had them going to the Elite Eight. In the regular season, they beat great teams like Illinois and Iowa, and then beat Minnesota, Purdue, and Michigan in the Big Ten tournament. And it seems like there's been all of this Big Ten hype this year just for Ohio State to lose in the first round to a 15 seed. And I just want to point out that every Big Ten team has either missed the tournament or lost in it, except for Michigan, who I hope loses to Florida State on Sunday. Losing in the first round in overtime, missing shots against 15 seed Oral Roberts, that's just unbelievable. And I think last week, a certain someone was pretty confident about their team in the tournament, but I think they even had a chant that goes along with it. Will, can you help us jog our memory on that?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of went like Georgetown. Say what? Say what? Georgetown. Sad. Georgetown was a major disappointment for me. Patrick Ewing gave me hope. And I was let down. I had him in my Elite Eight, in my bracket. It's just sad. They had a massive rout of Creighton in the Big East tournament, 73-48. They're a well split up team, and they had that 5-12 seed upset bid going, just demolished by the Buffaloes again. I had them in my Elite Eight. I thought they could go far, and I was let down.
That was cool. I like that little song, by the way, and both of y'all taking jabs at me. That was cool. If y'all wanted my autograph after the show, y'all could have just said that. Anyways, I'm gonna have to rock with Illinois. They definitely disappointed me. Ayo Dosunmu, Trent Frazier, Kofi Coburn had so much hype going into this tournament as a 1 seed, but they just didn't live up to their expectation. And just not having that same momentum going into the tournament, it was just tough to see them go down to Loyola Chicago like that. Also, I got beef with Ayo Dosunmu. How are you just gonna post up on IG with the Big Ten trophy in memoir of Kobe, then lose to Cameron Krutwig, who, by the way, dropped 19 and 12? Like, really? Bro built like he has his own pizza shop. Are you serious right now? That's so disrespectful, man. Like, he really did bust my bracket. This Illinois team really busted my bracket, and I'm so disappointed in them. And I so disrespectful, man.
I mean, that's pretty disappointing too. I mean, especially with the tribute to then go on and lose like that. It's just, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
It's not. I was sick, bro.
I'm not gonna lie. I did pick Illinois to win the whole thing. So if we're talking about disappointments, I'm right there with you, Miles. I'm right there with you.
I was. Whew.
But now to the big question: can anyone defeat the undefeated? The last time to win it all with 0 losses was Indiana in 1976. Will the 2021 Gonzaga Bulldogs finish it out with a perfect season?
Absolutely. I think that the Gonzaga Bulldogs are going to finish out this season undefeated, go all the way, and win this tournament. I think the Bulldogs are arguably one of the best college teams in basketball ever. This team has been dominant, obviously, all season long, beating teams like Kansas, Iowa, and now the Sooners by double digits. To become the first team in 45 years to win it all, they definitely are going to face some challenges. I'd say the toughest opponent for the Zags would be Baylor for sure. I think this matchup will actually come in the national championship game. Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell are going to keep Gonzaga on their toes, and the thing I've noticed with the Baylor Bears is that they're so good at hitting those shots, not to mention with that kind of versatility on both sides of the ball. I want to put out there that back in March of 2019, Gonzaga beat Baylor 83-71, and I don't know, fingers crossed, but I'm hoping that we see some foreshadowing here.
Addie, I've got a couple words for you, and they are sick 'em Bears.
No.
Gonzaga is going to fall to Baylor, but they've got a super easy path to the championship. They've got Creighton and then either Oregon or USC. They can easily make it up, but when they get up to that championship, they're going to find Baylor. And Baylor has such an overall spread out offense and defense. Look at this. They involve their entire team in every play. They take care of each other. It's this overall team dynamic that they've got going on that's just gonna shut down Timmy. There's not gonna be any Timmy time from these Bulldogs. The Bears are shutting them down. Sick 'em.
Will. Big Willie. My guy. I rock with you. You know that.
Oh, yeah?
But you're wrong. Absolutely. Gonzaga is going all the way. They're just that team, honestly. No question about that. Jaylen Suggs, Drew Timme, Joel Ayayi, Corey Crisper, and the rest of the crew are just unfair against other teams. They came into this tournament as an unbeaten team, and they're going to finish it that way, honestly. Leading the way for them is freshman phenom Jaylen Suggs. Jaylen Suggs has been averaging 14 points, shooting a little under 50% from the field. And honestly, this man is just a special talent. What makes Suggs so great individually as a player is just his dominance at every level of basketball. Even when he played high school ball at Minnehaha with Chet Holmgren, it was just easy for him to dominate other players. And having that support system of Timme, Kispert, Ayayi, they're not losing to anybody. What is that? You look like you got arthritis. What is that's not? No. What is that? No.
It's a bear claw. Yeah.
They're not beating Baylor. They are beating Baylor.
Baylor's got it.
No. Gonzaga with the dub. They're going all the way.
Gonzaga's a good team. Baylor's the better team.
Nah.
There's no way that Baylor falls.
Nah, ain't no way. No.
Coming up next on GamedayU, our analysts make their picks for who moves on to the Elite Eight. Welcome back to GamedayU. It's finally time to hear who our analysts think will take the biggest games of the week. So first up, we have Loyola Chicago and Oregon State Saturday at 1:40. It's a battle between Sister Jean and Benny Beaver. Addie, who do you got?
Well, Elise, I have Oregon State for the win on this one. Don't get me wrong, I love Sister Jean, but I have to go with the underdog here. What I really like about this Oregon State offense is that they don't rely solely on one player. They beat Oklahoma State last week. I mean, that's pretty impressive, so for that reason, I have to stick with the Beavers.
You know, Oregon State, yeah, taking down Oklahoma State, that's great. But Sister Jean is keeping it clean. And the Ramblers can keep it rolling. I've got Loyola Chicago. You know, they allow significantly less points than Oregon State does. They're seeking another Elite Eight, maybe even a Final Four. But for now, they're taking it.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. They're that team. Honestly, they just seem unstoppable, especially after beating Georgia Tech and Illinois. It just seems like they just play together as a unit. And when you have guys that can just play together as one and have that cohesive energy, they just seem unbeatable.
Completely.
Next up, the Baylor Bears take on Villanova Saturday at 4:15. Will Baylor be the next 1 seed out?
Absolutely not. I'm going with Will here. Might have to do a little bit of this. Everyone knows that Baylor is one of the best teams in college basketball right now, and Villanova is looking pretty good in this tournament, but let's face it, Baylor is not North Texas or Winthrop. The Wildcats haven't been tested in this tournament, so I just really don't see Baylor losing until the national championship to Gonzaga.
All right. I appreciate the hand. 3 words: sick Bears. That's it.
Well, you killing me, bro. But I'm gonna have to go with Baylor on this. They have the best backcourt, in my opinion, Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler. And as the lone Big 12 team in this tournament still, I expect them to make a Final Four appearance. They're definitely making a statement.
Well, my
But they're
personal
still not beating.
favorite.
They're still not beating Gonzaga.
Oh, they're
No
still
way.
not beating
Okay.
Gonzaga. We'll get to that later. My personal favorite Cinderella story in this madness is Dancing with the Hogs Saturday at 6:25. It's Oral Roberts versus Arkansas. Who's moving on?
I'm taking Arkansas because this team just won't quit. Arkansas was able to make key plays in their 68-66 win over Texas Tech. This team is very controlled, but they're also very fast. I love the story behind this Oral Roberts team. I love to root for the Oklahoma team, but I think for about the first half, Oral Roberts will hang in there. But after that, I think the Hogs will start to pull away. They actually played each other last December, and the Golden Eagles were up by 10 at the half, but Arkansas ended up winning 87-76. Hoping for some foreshadowing here, like with Gonzaga.
Yeah, they may have played in the past, but this is the tournament, and ORU is going full Cinderella. They are taking down the Razorbacks, and look for my guy, Max Amos, to keep showing out. They've got it.
I gotta go with ORU here as well. They just have that duo of Max Abmas and Kevin O'Banner, who they've just been dropping big numbers on everybody. Like that last game against UF, Abmas dropped 26 and O'Banner dropped 30. Like those guys, if we're being honest, are league bound, in my opinion.
They are.
To wrap up Saturday's game, Syracuse plays Houston at 8:55. Will Otto the Orange help Syracuse win the upset, or can former Sooner coach Kelvin Sampson and Houston walk out with the win?
Houston is a very strong team, but Jerome not playing at his full potential, I think it'll definitely be tough for the Cougars. Syracuse knows how to show up in this tournament. They embarrassed San Diego State in the first round and then came out on top against West Virginia. Oral Roberts taking down Ohio State is just proof that there's really no counting anyone out.
Yeah, but I'm going to have to go with Houston. The Cougars are going to shut down the Orange. They've had solid defensive performances all season. They had a scare against Rutgers, but the defense pulled through. This new Buddy Buckets, as some people are calling him, he's not making many. There are no buckets for Buddy Bojan.
You just said last block that. What? You contradicting yourself. But, okay, I'm going to have to go with Houston as well. The Cougars have a guy named Quentin Grimes. I'm a big fan of Quentin Grimes. It's definitely great to see him be in a program like Houston where they just let him dominate at his skill level, and he's definitely a high-level player.
Now, undefeated Gonzaga wants to move on, but Creighton stands in their way. Tip-off is Sunday at 1:10. Will Creighton be the team to end the Bulldogs season?
Well, I've been riding the Gonzaga bandwagon all night tonight, and I'm just going to continue to ride that. I don't see anyone, especially Creighton, taking the win here. To me, Creighton is mediocre. I think Oklahoma had a decent shot in pulling off the upset, and they lost by 16. In order for Creighton to lose to Gonzaga, the Bulldogs are going to have to play blindfolded, or they're just going to not show up, and I just really don't see that happening. Gonzaga's going to win.
Yeah, it's an easy answer. The only team that's going to beat Gonzaga is Baylor. Gonzaga's got it against the Blue Jays.
I got to go with the Zags here. They just have that team where they just look undefeated, and nobody's not stopping them.
The final 1-seed Michigan takes on Florida State Sunday at 4. Who do you have winning this one?
Roll Tide, am I right? I mean, UCLA has been able to get here with 3 wins, but Michigan State, BYU, Abilene Christian, Alabama is just too solid in too many phases. UCLA's defense has been pretty tough in the tournament, but it's just okay from the 3, and it doesn't force a lot of mistakes. I'm not worried about UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about UCLA either. I think Bama's got it. They're crushing so far in the tournament. They're scoring more than UCLA on average. They're shooting strong from the 3. They're going to keep that Tide rolling.
I'm going to have to roll the Tide with y'all and say that they're going to come out with the W here. Javon Quinterly, John Petty Jr., Jaden Shackelford, they have guys that could produce big, like if they could compete at a high level at any cost. And they have Herbert Jones, who was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Congrats to him. I got them winning.
So Michigan and Florida State Sunday at 4. Addie, who do you have for that game?
I'm picking Florida State all the way. They're staying under the radar, which I like. They've been smooth, all these upsets, and Florida State is just coasting past UNC Greensboro and Colorado. And that's why I'm going to take Florida State.
I'm going to have to go against you. I'm going to have to go with Michigan. Juwan Howard's got it.
Is this camera on me? Simple. Raekwon Gray, Anthony Polite, Scotty Barnes, they're coming out with a W. I got to rock with the home state.
The last game of the Sweet 16, Oregon takes on USC at 8:45. Do the Ducks or the Trojans?
I'm going with USC.
Got to go with Oregon.
USC for the win.
Finally, before we close, we wanted to touch on the death threats Ohio State's E.J. Liddell received. We support all players and encourage our viewers to do the same, win or lose. There is never a time or place where threatening the lives of players should be permissible, and we ask you to think twice before sending messages or posting an attack on any player or coach. And with that said, thank you for watching Game Day U live from Studio D at the University of Oklahoma. We'll be here next week for one last show. On behalf of Addie Crawford, Will Blessing, Miles Smith, and everyone behind the scenes, I'm Elise Jones. Have a good night.